Okie dokie. Let's go ahead and begin. Bismillah wa salatu wa salamu ala khayri khalqillah Sayyidina Muhammad alayhi afdali salati wa salam. Allahumma allimna bima yanfa'na wa anfa'na bima 'allamtana wa zidna imanan wa yaqinan ya rabbal alameen. Welcome back. Jazakumullah khair for coming out. It is very gloomy weather outside, so you being here is a big deal, choosing to be here. Because I know I wanted to cuddle, under my blanket. So it is lovely to have you here. And my job is, you are the guests of Allah Azza wa Jal, and my job is to honor the guests of Allah. So please forgive me for any of my shortcomings. I thought about what topic to cover for today. And as a reminder, the continuation, inshallah, we have just a few more halaqas to go for May, and then we'll take a break during summer. But as a reminder, and it's so nice to see all the younger ones here too, the topic of this season was Tamkeen al-Mar'a al-Muslima, which is agency for the Muslim woman that is rooted in the pleasing of Allah Azza wa Jal. And from there we explored the stories of Muslim women, we talked about growth factors, we talked about so many aspects of being a Muslim woman that is rooted in being a Khalifa in this world, and being a servant of Allah Azza wa Jal, and rooting our agency in that. So I thought about what to speak about today, and as usual we will begin with a few tadabbur of a few verses of the Quran, and usually any information that I give in this halaqah is usually something that I have studied with my teachers, because this is the phase that we're in right now, is simply passing on this knowledge, because it's a huge amana. So this is the phase right now of trying to transmit as much information as I am getting to whoever is in the presence of this halaqah. And so the two verses that I wanted to reflect on today is from Surah Al-Mujadila, and one verse actually. And this is a verse where my teacher was speaking to me about the adab and the etiquettes that Allah presents in the Quran, about how to carry ourselves. And subhanAllah, you reflect on how everything, like the details of this verse, and this verse says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا قيل لكم تفسحوا في المجالس فافسحوا يفسح الله لكم وإذا قيل انشزوا فانشزوا يرفع الله الذين آمنوا منكم. O believers, when you are told to make room in gatherings, this is in the Quran, to make room in gatherings, then do so. Allah will make room for you in His grace. And if you are told to rise, then do so. What is the context of this verse? Imagine someone walking in, and this applies to all ages, even you girls are going to notice maybe something like this. There's a group of people sitting in a room, a classroom or something, and the activity's going on, and you walk in. What this verse is telling us is that when someone walks into the room, make sure to welcome them. Make space for them. Like, no, come. You see them sitting on the corner, you say, no, come, I'm going to make room for you. This is from the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. Imagine what that does to a person. Imagine you're walking into a space and you're new in town, or you walk into an area and you don't know any. Like, how many of us don't go to social gatherings and events just because we don't know somewhere there? Who do you notice? And this is what my teacher Mufti Kamani would tell us. Do you notice the people who are on the side standing alone? Do your eyes take in the room and take in the people who are maybe the person, the lady who's standing just eating on her own, trying to make sure she looks nice and cool, but you can tell that she doesn't know anyone there. Or maybe you have a friend who's sitting alone on a lunch table, and you can tell that they're alone, that they don't have friends. What do? Do you notice those people, or do you not? Do your eyes catch those people, or do we miss them in this grand scheme of the busyness of life and the busyness of our rooms? We need to make sure that we catch those people and to include them as much as we can. So Allah Azza wa Jal in this verse is saying that if you walk, when you are told to make room in gatherings, and the context of this verse is that the Prophet ﷺ was sitting and some people enter and he tells them, make room And so some of the hypocrites that were sitting in that circle, they were very bothered by it. Like, how could you tell us to make room? Like, we're sitting, why would we get up and they sit down? Why would we make room for them? So subhanAllah, the adab, even something as simple, do we stop to teach our children the simple adab of, like, imagine how many kids now, and I see this, and this is why it's so important to find educators who, I was on the soccer field once with my son, and a player fell to the ground and got injured. The other team, the coach immediately said, everyone take a knee. The other team, everyone take a knee, stop the game and take a knee. Like, this action of support, of saying, I'm here, I support you. And I see the difference. I see the difference between coaches, who this is just a game and whatever. And there's not that adab that's incorporated into the everyday life. And this is why it's so important when you are, to me, educators make or break the education system. I believe you can have the best curriculum and the best school system, and then you have a teacher who does not put passion and inspiration in the children, and the child will shut down. And then you can have a teacher who is in District 1 with the most limited of resources, but she is so passionate about teaching that the child feels that they can reach for the stars. So when you do embark on this journey of looking for educators for your children, at this younger age of elementary years, really look into the tarbiyah aspect. Now there's a plethora of information out there. Anyone can get information about anything. But what's important now is that, can we find educators who can combine both information and tarbiyah? If they can combine information and also how to apply that information and not just memorize books. So subhanAllah, this is verse 11 from Surah Al-Mujadila. Welcome people in. Make room for them. Tafassahu. Make room. Say, come in, welcome, sit next to us. No, come sit next to me. Come sit next to me. Imagine like a woman coming in and she doesn't know anyone, like how much like that would uplift her. Like, oh yeah, like I talked to someone within the first few seconds. So that is a reflection on that verse. I thought it was beautiful when my teacher went over it with me, so I wanted to share that with you guys. So again, Surah Al-Mujadila 58 verse 11. So with that said, we are going to go into today's topic, and I'm going to give you a little breakdown of what we're going to do, inshallah, today. So today we have a little bit of a reflection series, and again, most of the talks that we do are grounded in either seerah and our hadith or the Quran. Because that is what I want our foundation to be. It's not just like self-help, growth talk, which is all amazing, but all of this is in the seerah, all of it is in the Quran. It's just a matter of finding it. So we're going to be talking about renewal today, adapting to change, تجدد, all of these beautiful concepts. And then also we're going to talk about a figure from our history, one of the Sahabiyat, Al-Shifa. Her real name is Layla, Al-Shifa bint Abdullah. And then at the end, inshallah, what we're going to do is that Sanjana, mashallah, has been organizing these monthly khatms of the Quran on the Muslim Collective Group. Maybe you've been part of it and signed up for it, mashallah. I think Ramadan was three or four. So what we want to try to do is, I'm going to have her talk more about it because she's the one taking care of it. Inshallah, once we get closer to that, but we might be able to do the dua khatm, inshallah, together today. Alrighty, Bismillah, Bismillah, Bismillah. So a few years ago, I had a guest come by, and let's just say this guest was uninvited. And not only was this guest not invited, I kinda did not expect it and did not want that guest to be at my home. So this sounds really mean already. We need like popcorn and tea. No, I'm not gonna gossip, I swear. So I had a guest come by, and subhanAllah, it was a guest, again, uninvited, and it turned into a permanent guest, subhanAllah. But it was truly a huge blessing in my life, subhanAllah. And this guest, who is this guest? This guest was the guest of separation, of divorce for me. And I say guest because, subhanAllah, in Islam, we are taught to honor our guests, right? To welcome in, honor our guest, like at the highest, even if, this guest, even if you have such little in your home, you share whatever you have. And so, subhanAllah, recently we were studying hadith with Mufti Kamani, and he said something very interesting. He said that just changed the way that I thought about ibtila'at, about difficulties and about change. He said, think of difficulty as a guest. The difficulties are a guest. It's not forever. It's going to pass. But subhanAllah, sometimes the makana of a abd, your place in the eyes of Allah is right here. But you're right here. And your day-to-day life right now is not going to get you here. The namat, your life right now that you're living, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just not going to get you here. So Allah gives you a guest. That guest comes in a form of a difficulty, of an ibtila, it could be, or just something really difficult, maybe just really, really difficult back pain, for example. Something that is just unexpected. SubhanAllah, he referenced to it as a guest. He said, you honor that guest, you take care of that guest, you don't curse that guest. You take care of it because this guest will leave. But were you able to benefit from the goodness that this guest has brought? And subhanAllah, that is change. This is how we should see ibtila'at. Is that Allah's like, you're here, but I want you to be here. But there's no way you're going to get here without a catalyst. So I'm going to give you this ibtila as a catalyst, because this is where I want you to be, and this is where you want to be. But this life that you have right now is not going to get you there. So he said, think of a chemistry reaction. And he said, in a chemical reaction, you can expedite a process. What do you need to expedite a chemical? Is anyone here in chemistry yet? You in chemistry? No? Okay, so when we want to expedite a reaction, we add something called a catalyst. What is a catalyst? A soft material, like a nice and soothing? No, a catalyst is usually something very tough, like acid, and like it's a tough matter. And if anyone here is a chemist, you can correct me. But you need to add a catalyst. What does the catalyst do? It expedites the process. And the harsher and the more difficult the catalyst is, the faster the process is. And he said, al-ibtila, and difficulty is that catalyst. It will take you from here to here, and from it, gold will come out. And the more difficult the refinement process is, the purer the gold that will come out. Even when you are like, this catalyst is destroying my life, it is a guest. And it's about how you talk to yourself. So subhanAllah, he was saying the same thing. He would have back problems, and when his mother, Allah yarhamha, asked him and told him about it, he said, this is a guest. I'm going to honor it. It's going to go, it's going to pass, but there is goodness that comes out of it. So subhanAllah, change is inevitable. Whether we like it or not, change is inevitable. The only constant in life is change. The only constant, look at it. The only constant opposite is change. And subhanAllah, even change, when the horn is blown, even change stops. وَيَبْقَى الْبَاقِي subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah says, لِمَنِ الْمُلْكُ الْيَوْمِ. Even change itself, in itself, comes to an end. Subhanallah. So how we view things is very important. I read this before, and I was doing some research, and what I found is that it was a saying of Ali radiallahu anhu, although I am not sure, but nonetheless, it's a beautiful saying. حب حبيبك هونا ما عسى أن يكون بغيضك. يوما ما وأبغض بغيضك هونا ما عسى أن يكون أو يصبح حبيبك يوما ما. Love your loved ones gently, slowly, because one day those people might turn into your enemies. And when you hate your enemies or loathe or really, really dislike your enemies, also do it with gentleness, because those same people might turn into a habib, a loved one day. So don't hate too much and don't love overboard. Everything in moderation is good. SubhanAllah, how many, and maybe for the older folks here, I say older, but we're young at heart. Maybe you've witnessed situations where people who you know, family members, loved ones who have turned from loved ones, like being in the same room and then this is a person that I would never talk to again. Or maybe the opposite. You had someone who was like, oh my goodness, you couldn't spot us like within 10 miles of each other. And subhanAllah, that person comes and does some sort of khidmah for you, or is the one who comes to the aid of your children. You never know, subhanAllah. So love in moderation and also dislike in moderation, because you never know. Nothing is forever, subhanAllah. One of the things that my guest taught me was that there is a certain kind of love that can only your heart, the love that goes in our heart, because we love to attach to things, right? We attach to our kids and we attach to our parents and we attach to our things and materials, and we love them so much. Like how much, think of the love of a mother for her child. But even that, hawnan ma, even that, the love in the heart is Allah Azza wa Jal. That is love that can never be taken away. The love of your spouse and your children and the materials and everything goes in the kaf, the palm of your hand. Because just like that, it can go and khalas, this is life. So love in moderation, dislike in moderation, place all the boundaries that you need, but hawnan ma, hawnan ma. So what does the tajaddud mean? Why is change important? You moved to a new grade level, but I was so happy in 7th grade. Why did I have to move to 8th grade? Or maybe I was in this middle school and now I have to move to this middle school. Or, you moved homes, or you ladies, one of you might have moved cities or moved towns or left your family and came to a different city just for a job opportunity or education opportunity. Why is change so important for us? And why did Allah create the kawn to be this way? And what verses in the Quran remind us over and over again that change is coming, change is inevitable, change is inescapable. You simply have to say, I'm going to bend and adjust my sails as much as I need to so that I can keep going. Some of us go on autopilot. And, I was thinking of this because it's that time of the year, subhanAllah. The year is wrapping up. My children are homeschooled. We're kind of, getting kind of slow. It's just, the work itself. There's like this sense, also the weather. There's so many factors taken into consideration. As like Texans, we're like, where's the sun? We're literally struggling. But we go sometimes on autopilot. What does autopilot mean? Like when a pilot is driving, I hope you're not putting your Teslas on autopilot. But for example, let's take planes. A captain flies a plane and then he puts it on autopilot. Khalas, the plane keeps going on its own. It's set, the exact numbers and metrics and everything is in place, and it goes on autopilot. And what does he do or she do? She does, they just sit back, khalas, kicking back their feet and relaxing. The danger is that some of us in our life, we are on autopilot. I'm happy with the things the way are. I'm going to keep doing this. I'm going to wake up. I'm going to have, my coffee, kids' school, come back, blah, 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 over and over again, day after day, day after day, day after day. And a part of it is like, no news is good news. No change is a good thing. But the issue is that a prolonged phase of this is actually detrimental to our minds. It's detrimental to our hearts. And it's not how the kawn was created. It's not how Allah created this world. Where do we read in the Quran about change? Several surahs that start with a qasam that talks about the time. What are those surahs? Let's name them together. Some of the surahs. Surah Al-Fajr, Al-Asr. What else? Surah Al-Shams and Surah Al-Layl. And then after that, there is Surah Al-Duha. What is Allah saying? Let's start with Surah Al-Layl. If you have a chance, and if there's one thing that you want to go home and do today, plug in whoever your favorite tafsir person is and listen to the tafsir of Surah Al-Layl. There is so much relief in it. There's so much relief if you are going through a period of a lot of change or maybe just instability internally. Listen to Surah Al-Layl. There's so much relief in it. So I'm going to focus on the beginning of Surah Al-Layl and at the end of Surah Al-Layl. So Allah Azza wa Jal says, وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا يَغْشَى وَالنَّهَارِ إِذَا تَجَلَّى وَمَا خَلَقَ الذَّكَرَ وَالْأُنثَى إِنَّ سَعْيَكُمْ لَشَتَّى. Allah Azza wa Jal is talking to us, and subhanAllah, before Surah Al-Layl, there's Surah Al-Shams. The sun is going to come out, but the day is inevitable, the night is inevitable, the night is going to come. But what comes after the darkest part of the night? The sun comes out again. So Allah, I don't think this order is coincidental, subhanAllah. Everything is there's a reason for it. So you read Surah Al-Shams, and then after that you read Surah Al-Layl, or the opposite, depending on which direction you're reading the Quran. But Allah is reminding us, وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا يَغْشَى وَالنَّهَارِ إِذَا تَجَلَّى. Layl comes and then Nahar comes over and over every day. SubhanAllah, the skin on our faces, يتجدد every day. The skin on your hands, you go to sleep at night, you don't see it. But you wake up with a different layer of skin. What happens if your skin doesn't change? Ew, not good. Yet Allah subhanAllah, while you're sleeping, and if we have any doctors here, they can tell us more about it, but your skin itself is getting a new layer overnight. And we want to stay where we are, and we don't want change, and we're so uncomfortable with change that's like, change is hurtful. It really is. This week there was so much change, subhanAllah, with my family. It's a good change, but still it was, it's change. It's very just interesting, ajib, to deal with. But subhanAllah, you find relief in the verses, in the words of Allah Azza wa Jal. What does Surah Al-Layl end with? Who can tell us? What does Allah give us at the very end of Surah Al-Layl? وَلَسَوْفَ يَرْضَى. Allah says the night is coming. Listen, the night is coming. It's dark. You can't see. There's a lot of unknown. But I'm telling you, the sun is going to come out, and this guest, after this guest leaves, you are going to be mardiya. You're going to be good. Allah's got you. وَلَسَوْفَ يَرْضَى. And so for me, it's just bringing those two together. SubhanAllah, when I look at night now, like the sun is going to come out, SubhanAllah, the next day. It's bound to come out. And then SubhanAllah, the time after that, Shams, Surah Al-Shams, وَالشَّمْسِ وَضُحَاهَا وَالْقَمَرِ إِذَا تَلَاهَا. The Qamar comes after the Shams. And then وَالنَّهَارِ إِذَا جَلَّهَا. And then there is, again, Allah's talking about the day. And then وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا يَغْشَاهَا. Allah's telling you over and over again, this life, this world, there is constant change every single day. And He's reminding us. So are we remembering this when we're reading the verses? They're beautiful, beautiful surahs, and very easy to memorize. And so they're a great way for us to also teach our children from a young age. Accept change, mama. It's okay. Like, I feel maybe it's a West thing, but we want to shelter our kids from change, and we're so worried about them having bedtime stories that don't end with happily ever after. No, it's life. I was reading there was a book a long time, I don't know, like The Danish Way of Parenting, something like that. And it was talking about how kids, stories there, they don't end with happily ever after. Like it ends with like someone dying or something, and tuta tuta like it's done. The story has ended. But the point is teaching kids resilience. And so we had a similar situation this past weekend, subhanAllah, where I knew there was a situation that was going to be particularly difficult for my daughter. So I said, Habibti, listen, I can shield you from this and tell you we're just not going to attend. Or we can attend, and it was her aunt was leaving, and so it was very difficult for her. And so she said, you know what, I'd rather not go. So I said, Habibti, I'll give you the choice, and we can either go we can either stay or let's go and understand. And then, there's all the stories. Imagine when the Prophet ﷺ left Mecca and, all the other, people who left and come back, like stories like this, but building in them this sense of resilience versus just, I'm going to shield you away from it. And when you build a sense of resilience that is grounded in the Quran, I've noticed the difference, subhanAllah, where when I reference a hadith or Quran versus what seems like my opinion, there is such a huge difference in their response. There's like this very much sense of like sakina, like, okay, even if it's a disagreement, but it's just like, it's a calmer response than opinions. So I found a lot of agency in using the verses of the Quran whenever we're talking about anything in life, referencing anything. We were talking about tarbiyah, subhanAllah, and the story of Umayr and the bird. We know, maybe many of us know the story of Umayr. Do you girls know the story of Umayr and the Prophet ﷺ? So there was a little boy and his bird passed away and he was very upset. You know the story? Yeah, okay. It's told a lot. So the Ghunayr is the bird. So the Prophet ﷺ goes to him and then he comes down to his level and he says, Ya Umayr, ماذا فعل الغنير, right? So he said, Ya Umayr, oh little Umar, what has the bird done? He didn't say, what did you do to the bird? Or you should have taken better care of it. He could tell the boy was very upset. So he said, oh Umayr, what did the Ghunayr do? What did the bird do? And subhanAllah, from that moment, it might teach us, yes, this is how this is the way that we talk. But extracting from it, what I was telling them is that when someone comes to you with a problem, you make it about them, not about you. So someone comes and says, oh, I just lost a loved one. Oh, I just lost a loved one too a few months ago. Don't worry, you'll be just fine. It's a little difficult at the beginning. That's not what we do. So the Prophet ﷺ, from that we learn compassion to the greatest extent of compassion. That's it. That moment is not about you. That moment is about this person and whatever difficulty they're going through. So again, verses of the Quran and Seerah, a lot of great stories of agency from that for children to benefit from. So it is already 7:46, subhanAllah. I'm going to try to go, maybe we'll finish this next time and I can jump into al-shifa, because I know there are some people here specifically to learn about al-shifa, right? Maybe? Okay. I'm going to try to wrap this up really quick though. There is a dua, and perhaps a little bit more well known than others. Ya muqallib al-qulub, thabbit qalbi ala dinak. SubhanAllah, no matter how much you think you have a connection with Allah, or those times where you feel so strong in your faith, there are times and moments that are scary. There are moments, Allah ya'afina, there are moments and times where it's like, can I stay like this? Or am I just in this period because I'm going through something specific? Can I continue to be this Muslim that I want to be? And so constantly repeating, Ya muqallib al-qulub, thabbit qalbi ala dinak. Ya muqallib, subhanAllah, it can turn overnight. Overnight. Children who grew up in wonderful families, and then teenage years something happens and flips. And the opposite is also true. It is all in the hands of Allah Azza wa Jal. Ya muqallib al-qulub, thabbit qalbi wa qalb awladi ala dinak. Over and over again, that dua. So it teaches you over and over again to place everything in its rightful place. Remember what the kind of love that goes in your heart. It's not love that can be taken or replaced by anyone. It's purely for the love of Allah. That is what gives our ruh sakina. Is when we love Allah and when our heart is overcome with the love of Allah. Then everything else, I'm not going to say you don't become cold, but things become more bearable. Things become justified. And you can learn this by being around good teachers. I can tell you that. If you put yourself in an environment, there are lessons that teachers will teach you silently. And our student body has been going through a lot of changes, but it's There are a lot of things that you will learn from just observing the teachers and how they carry themselves. And this is one of those things, is how they react to changes. And you're here sobbing, sitting here sobbing, and they are reacting completely different, but not because they're cold, but because they know where their ruh is truly rooted, and what change means to them, and that this too shall pass. Okay. So with that said, let me make sure there's nothing else about Surah. I'm going to leave you with 3 things. How to become someone who is able to adapt change a little bit better, but also how to develop this sense of constant tajaddud in your ruh, renewal in your ruh, in your spirit, in your lifestyle. Staying stagnant is a silent killer. Anything that stays stagnant, subhanAllah. Tree is losing its leaves every single year. Trees. What happens to a river that stays stagnant? Its water becomes undrinkable, right? Everything, subhanAllah, Allah shows us in nature around us, shows us signs. You stay still, you stay stagnant, it's detrimental. So don't stay stagnant. Always challenge yourself. How? Accepting the reality of change, subhanAllah. There's this prayer, I think it's called like prayer of serenity or something. It's not like a Muslim-based one, but I love it. It goes like this. Oh Allah, give me the courage to change what I can change. And give me, I'm trying to remember the other. And give me the serenity in accepting what I can't change. And give me the wisdom to know the difference. And I think that last part is the most important one, is understanding that there are things that are in our hands that we can change, and other things that no matter how many locks and keys you have, that door is shut and you gotta move on. Number 2, commit to continuous learning. Always find something new every single year. Every single year, say, this year, I'm gonna learn this skill. I'm gonna take this class, something that is completely outside of your field. Outside of your field, guys. You can't be, I'm talking like you're a doctor and you're taking a class on like AI, like something that is completely out. You are gonna learn a new language. Every year there has to be a new challenge that is actually challenging, not something that is, because what does a challenge do? Challenge means discomfort. You're not gonna like a challenge. You're not gonna like, you love art. Why would you go do a STEM class, a science class? No, I love art. But when you challenge yourself into exploring things that you're not too comfortable with, that's how you gain wisdom. So that's number 2. And then train your mind to adapt. It is a mindset. It's a mindset. It's how you talk to yourself every single time. This is a guest. This guest will leave soon. How am I going to honor this guest while they're here? It's going to pass. And then after it passes, the goodness is, and when you look back and you say, subhanAllah, how difficult were those few years? But look what has come out of it. And it feels so rewarding, subhanAllah. But it depends on how you speak to yourself about those moments. So, inshallah, we will end here. I pray that it was of benefit. I'm going to give a little bit about al-shifa before we move into the dua. What do you think, Sinjana? Okay, so al-shifa. Oddly enough, al-shifa, I went searching for information about al-shifa because right now in class what we're doing is we're creating like Wikipedia pages for like scholars that information doesn't exist online or very little. And so I'm like, I'm gonna take on all the women. I'm gonna pick up all these books and just, because in my path of doing research for women, there's very little information. Like, can you believe Google Pages actually came to an end in researching some of these women? So I went looking for information about Shifa, and there was a lot of information on Google, but then I went to some books and I couldn't find a lot of information. So I was trying to put both together and kind of, figure out where the differences were. But we know a little bit about Shifa, some of the main points here. So what do we know about Shifa? Shifa's real name is not Al-Shifa. Al-Shifa means the healer. And that in itself, subhanAllah, we're going to go through it really quick to understand what why she was a healer. But her real name was Layla. Layla. She was from among the first Muslims and from the first believing women in Islam. And she was also among the first people, I'm going to do it quickly, okay girls? She was among the first people to move to Mecca, to do the hijrah to Mecca. But she is from the same clan as Umar radiallahu anhu, and later she's actually appointed by Umar to do something really important. We're going to head to that. But what I want to speak about is kind of the story. We have the story, but what are the lessons from behind it? So Al-Shifa is obviously given the nickname of Al-Shifa because it has to do something with healing, right? Al-Shifa means to heal. So she was a healer because she had learned how to do ruqya. And subhanAllah, she goes to the Prophet ﷺ. She ends up living in Medina in a home that is between what? Is very close to Masjid al-Nabawi and between the Prophet's home. So in the marketplace, subhanAllah. So actually her home became a place where the Prophet ﷺ, he would seek a lot of guidance from her. And it was a place where he would actually stop a lot of times on the way to and from and rest there. But she is called the healer because she knew how to do ruqya, and the Prophet ﷺ he asked her to teach Hafsa, his wife, also how to do ruqya. But what I want to point out is that she went to the Prophet ﷺ to say, I know how to do this. Should I continue doing it? Is this correct? And he said yes. And then she offered her services. She said, I can do this, meaning I want to help. And sometimes we wait for opportunities to come to us. And I have been around women who literally, people are walking by and they're like, no, I'm going to go get 5 minutes with this person because this person has something that I need. And how do you take advantage of opportunities to say, I have this thing that I can contribute to the ummah, versus waiting to say, well, if they want me, they'll come ask for me. No. I have the service, I want to offer it. I'm not going to hide information. I'm not going to, if I learn something, I want to give back to my ummah. I want to give back to my community. But finding the right door is sometimes hard. But don't let doors that close in your face or people that are not welcoming you kind of push you back. If you have something to offer, take it to the community. If you are good at anything, take it back to the community. Maybe you are a good educator. Maybe you are a good cook. Maybe you are a good, you do crochet really well. There's so many things that you can just go up to any committee at the masjid and say, I have this thing to offer. How can I benefit the people around me with it? And subhanAllah, imagine Allah just looking at these small contributions and you saying, this is what I had to offer. And I did buy it, ya Allah. And just the reward that comes for that. Don't belittle whatever skills or whatever hobbies or interests that you have. There's always benefit to it. So subhanAllah, Al-Shifa carried a lot of knowledge and a lot of wisdom. And Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu ends up giving her an extremely important role. She becomes what you can call a minister of finance, I guess, in the marketplace. So her role, her job was that she would walk through the marketplace and make sure that no one is cheating, everyone is following the rules, the customers are being well treated, and she would scold people who were not following the rules. Or, if she discovers that someone was cheating, for example, she was, and so what I want you to think about and imagine what kind of character it takes like that. Have you ever been on a construction site in the middle of a bunch of men? Or been to a place where it's dominated by men? Sometimes it's intimidating. For you to go up there, I did it once. And it was a construction, and I was there to look at spaces and stuff for maktaba. But I was I don't know. And I'm trying to act yeah, I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm talking about. But I'm just looking at plans and looking at spaces, and they're talking. I'm just include me, please. But just imagine, subhanAllah, all of these experiences really toughen you up. But imagine what kind of character it took from Al-Shifa to be that kind of person in the marketplace. You need guts, you need character, but you also need wisdom. And that might be the most important thing. It's not the strength, it's the wisdom of navigating situations that forces the person in front of you to have respect for you. And so may Allah allow us to follow in the footsteps of Al-Shifa and all the Sahibiyat and develop character and beautiful personality traits that are rooted in the pleasing of Allah Azza wa Jal, not in our ego or our personal benefits, but truly a willingness to serve our ummah, inshallah. Jazakumullah khair. Please forgive me for any shortcomings. Inshallah, we'll end and we'll do really quick. If you'd like to stay for the dua al-khatm, that would be lovely. I'm going to pass around the dua and Sanjana will tell us a little bit about it.